So one of the main reasons that parents hold off on sleep training is because they are terrified it is going to mean weeks of crying. And for healthy babies, that is just not the case. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly what to expect from night one, so you know if this is actually working for you and the trajectory that you should be seeing in your child's sleep training journey. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is, does sleep training actually work? And as a sleep consultant who has worked with hundreds of families and done this myself with my 3 children, I can tell you 100% that sleep training does work. But it's not that we're actually teaching babies how to sleep, because babies know how to sleep. It's that we're teaching them how to self-soothe to get themselves to sleep. And it's a very big distinction, because once babies are asleep, they typically know how to link sleep cycles, or that's kind of the easier part of it. It's really the initial getting themselves to sleep that's really going to solidify those middle of the night wakings, because once they can get themselves to sleep, that means that they can get themselves back to sleep much more easily without needing any adult intervention. So there's a couple of big factors that come into play when you are trying to figure out how long this is going to take. Because again, this should not be taking weeks and weeks and weeks. This should be maybe taking 5 to 7 days tops when you are seeing a dramatic change in your child's sleep. Are things going to be perfect by that 7-day mark? Probably not, but you're going to be feeling so much better. You're going to be seeing such a difference in the long stretches of sleep and the amount of protest that they're doing initially falling asleep and in the middle of the night, that you are going to know that it is working. So age, how old your little one is definitely going to have an impact. It probably seems counterintuitive. You would think the older that the child is, the faster that the progress would happen, but it's actually, I found it's opposite. Usually the 4 to 6 month olds make the fastest progress because they don't have weeks and months and years of set in habits that we're trying to change. So they actually make progress very, very quickly. And then typically the older the child gets, it's a little bit harder and it takes a little bit longer for them to make the changes, but it is still, we want to be seeing significant progress in those 5 to 7 days, regardless of age. Consistency is going to be a huge factor. If you are not consistent with this, if you are not consistent night to night, if you're not consistent within the same night, it is going to take you much longer to see success. And you're actually could be doing yourself a disservice and making it harder for you and your child than making it easier. So staying consistent is going to be one of the number one things that's going to determine how long this is going to take you. Their sleep schedule, it could depend. Maybe you might be playing around with their sleep schedule. Maybe we're changing sleep schedule because soon they're going to be starting daycare, or you're going to be going back to work, summer's going to be ending, whatever it may be. So changing their sleep schedule may also have an effect on how long this takes, where if they already have like a set bedtime and wake up time and we're just trying to make bedtime easier and then a night wakings eliminated, then that could take a little bit less time. Sleep associations, if there's a child that is used to staying the duration of the night in their crib, that could take them longer to acclimate to this than a child who has co-slept for their entire life. However, I will say I just worked with a set of twins and they were about 11 months old. The daughter was previously being pulled into bed to co-sleep with mom, and by night 2, she spent the duration of the night in her crib. So yes, sleep associations could lend to it taking a little bit longer, but that isn't always necessarily the case. And then temperament. This is a big one as well, because depending on how your child reacts, it's definitely going to depend on your reactions and how you feel about that reaction. There are some very lively, spirited, I don't even know what else to say. I don't want to say stubborn, because I don't think children are stubborn, but I think that they have a very strong temperament. And how you feel about that temperament is definitely going to impact how much you may use these strategies. So if your child is not very mild tempered, they have a big personality and you're a little bit more mild, and it's hard for you to hear their big feelings and emotions, it's definitely going to impact the way that you do this. So definitely know that if you have a child with very strong emotions, that doesn't mean that anything is wrong. That's just how they express themselves. So let's give an example. A 6-month-old with a consistent bedtime routine will often learn faster than a toddler who had 2 years of rocking to sleep, just because they had more time to develop that habit and really get it ingrained and not know any other solutions than a 6-month-old who hasn't had 2 years of the same thing to kind of work to unwind. So let's talk about the day by day. This is why you came to this video. So the first night, not going to sugarcoat it, it's going to be the hardest for everybody. Your little one is going to feel like this is a change I wasn't really ready for. I didn't know what to expect. What are we doing here? And you are going to feel like, wow, I hope I'm doing this right. I'm not really sure. Should they be crying? Should they not? Do I interact? Do I wait? So you're all going to be feeling a little bit uneasy. Everything is changing. Your baby is learning, but you are also learning too. So just know that this night is not going to be perfect. It's going to be the most difficult night, but once you survive through that night, it's not going to be smooth sailing, but it's definitely going to get easier and easier the more that you do it. So just know night 1 is going to be difficult. Night 2, we're definitely seeing things get easier. Every night we want to see either the length of their protest at bedtime going down or the intensity of the protest going down. Ideally, we want to see both, but if you're seeing one or the other, that is a good sign that things are moving in the right direction. Most of the time this night is going to feel easier because you already know what to expect. It's not a surprise. You've been here, done this. They have too, so they're going to have a little bit of an easier time because they also know what to expect as long as you're staying consistent. Big thing. Once we get to nights like 5 to 7, we're going to start seeing steady progress after night 1 until nights 5 to 7. Then there's going to be what I call an extinction burst. That is when they're really going to push back to say, are you sure we're really doing this? You're really making me learn to fall asleep on my own. You're not going to offer that bottle. You're not going to pick me up to nurse. And once they know, okay, that's not going to happen, they're going to continue to make progress. But one of those nights you are going to see pushback. So definitely stay consistent. Don't feel like, oh no, I ruined things. Now we're going back into old patterns. Nope. No, this is the night. They're just checking in, making sure we're staying consistent. And now we continue to move forward. So please, 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 this is the night that's going to make or break your journey. Do not fall back into old. So now that we know what's going to help sleep training, we also need to know on the other end what's going to not help sleep training. So great examples of this is changing the plan every single night. Maybe you start with a stay in the room plan and then you move to a Ferber and then you move to a full cry it out. Gonna be confusing. Then you go back to a stay in the room. All bets are off. Your child has no idea what's happening. If you plan to rock, well, if you don't plan, but you do end up rocking or feeding, you say, actually, I think I am going to rock them just to help them settle, and then I'll put them in. That's going to be more confusing. If you pick baby up right away, every time they make a fuss, that's going to be more confusing. If you haven't followed a proper schedule and they're overtired or not tired enough at bedtime, that's going to make things harder. Too much daytime sleep is definitely going to impact it. If you offer a feed when it's not a time that you are planning to feed, maybe they just ate, but you're just doing it to help them get back to sleep, that's definitely going to make things more confusing. So definitely having a plan and sticking to it, kind of regardless of what's happening, is going to be what makes this the most successful. And if after 5 to 7, 7 to 10 days, you are not seeing consistent change and that now you know consistently what your child's sleep is going to look like, then we need to take a closer look because something isn't working. It could be your wake windows, it could be the daytime sleep, it could be the bedtime timing, it could be sleep environment. There's so many things that could be going on. It could be you think you're being really consistent, but you're actually not being consistent and adding more confusion to the mix. So we really need to dive in deep and figure out what is not working, what symptoms are we kind of seeing to show us that this isn't working, and then what do we do about those symptoms? So there's kind of a 2-step process there to figure out why is this not working, and then what do we need to do about it next. So the big thing is the mindset shift for you as the parents. Sleep training isn't about teaching your baby to stop needing you. I know that is a huge fear that a lot of parents feel. But it's really about teaching them of being capable of something new, something that they can own and know, if I don't have someone immediately there, I can still comfort myself. And that is a huge message that I wanted my children to have, because while I would love to be there for them 24/7, I know that's just not possible. So I want them to have the skills to be able to comfort and soothe themselves when I'm not immediately able to help. I'd love to know, if you're thinking about sleep training, what is your biggest fear? This might just inspire my next video. I can't wait to see you there.